Oh man, I have the best '80s movie that we can watch.
Oh God, this again.
What?
Is it thrashing again?
No, no, it's not.
Is it rad?
No, no, it's got that guy who was on ER
Okay.
and that girl that was in ET as well.
Oh, George Clooney and Drew Barrymore.
Sure.
No.
And scene. That's right. We watched Critters. So, because of that, I had to talk about how Scott Grimes, who is the lead, I guess, the child hero in this, went on to be on ER. He's also the voice of Steve Smith on American Dad, and not Drew Barrymore, but Dee Wallace or Dee Wallace Stone, who played the mother in E.T., is also the mother in this movie.
I just affectionately refer to her as E.T.'s mom.
You know what? Okay, fine. She didn't birth E.T. She was the mom from E.T. She was Elliot's mom.
Well, I mean, did you see the director's cut though?
I heard about it.
They cut that scene out where she actually births E.T. in the kitchen.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the subplot where E.T. Had lust in his heart for Elliot's mom. With that
No, see,
scene
they
was
cut
left
that
in the
out once
novelization.
that scene was gotten rid of once the birthing scene came into question. They thought
Yikes.
coupled with that it might be a little
Tad
weird.
incestuous, yeah.
So
We're not here
we
to
did
talk
watch
about.
Critters.
Yes, we did watch Critters, and
And
what?
before we get into the actual movie, there are some things about this movie we should tell everyone about. Because if you've seen Critters, you may
Which you
notice
should
that
have,
it resembles another fairly popular movie called Gremlins.
right? But
However,
apparently,
yeah,
the script had been written long before Gremlins, and several things were changed during production to lessen the resemblance to Gremlins.
yeah, and this is the apparently part. I call semi bullshit on this.
Okay.
Um, there are enough differences, I think, but it seems very much like an attempt to cash in on Gremlins.
Well, it definitely attempt to catch in on that whole creature craze that kind of popped up. Because, I mean, you had the Gremlins, you had Critters, Ghoulies, then there were the lesser known ones like Hobgoblins and what was the other?
Gremlins 2,
Munchies was another
Mun-
one. Munchies was a
Munchies.
terrible Gremlins ripoff.
I thankfully have never seen any of the ones you mentioned.
You haven't seen Hobgoblins?
I have not.
Not even the Mystery Science Theater version?
Oh, maybe the Mystery Science Theater version.
Oh, because yeah, that's in a class all of its own. But
And let's just mention that Critters has there is three sequels to this movie.
yes,
And the last one is of course in space.
right. But the third one has a
Has
young Leonardo DiCaprio in it.
and apparently he's the best part of that movie.
I would say that yes he is.
So Critters, directed by Stephen Herrick,
Hmm.
who also directed Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Love that
Don't
movie.
Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. The Mighty
Enjoyed that
Ducks.
movie.
Mr. Holland's Opus.
Yeah.
And then we start getting a little drab here as we move into Holy Man, Rockstar, Life or Something Like It, Man of the House, Into the Blue 2,
Ooh.
The Chaperone.
So not only does this have an ER and American Dad connection, but it also has a WWE connection.
That's perfect
Ugh.
for this podcast. Oh, and my favorite credit from him is Dolly Parton's Coat of Many Colors.
Oh, that's a lovely movie. My wife's seen that so many times. It's just fantastic.
Oh, I love her. She's just so wonderful.
Yes.
And I gotta say too, when you said Scott Grimes, I had no idea that that was the guy from. Would you say he was from ER?
Yeah, he was Dr. Morris on ER. He was one of the main leads for like a good portion towards the end run of ER. I think the last 5 or 6 years or something like that.
It's interesting because I just saw a movie yesterday, and it also had like I don't know how this is kind of connected, but it had Henry Thomas in it, who was Elliot in E.T.
Henry. Oh, okay. What movie was that?
That was the new movie Ouija: Origin of Evil.
Oh, Henry Thomas is in that?
He is, and that
I
actually,
started
guys.
watching that the other day, and I never got around to finishing it.
Wait, which movie?
Ouija.
Oh, like the first one, you mean?
No, the second one.
The one that is in theaters now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was gonna
We may
say
have to edit this part out.
You mean you watched it in the theater, had to leave because you had to run an
my
errand.
irritable bowel syndrome was acting up.
I gotta say, I've never seen the original Ouija, and this is kind of an off tangent, but the new one is actually really good.
I've actually heard that this is one of the cases where the sequel was way better than the original.
That's what I've heard. I've heard the original.
The original's
is a piece
terrible.
of garbage.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
it's a dumpster.
I do
fire
recommend you guys check this out.
Yeah.
I do not recommend Keeping Up with the Joneses, which I also saw. Okay.
Critters. I thought you were, when you said Henry Thomas, I was for sure you're going to say you saw Suicide Kings because he's in that.
I have seen that. I did not know he was in that, though.
He's like one of the main guys.
Is he Christopher Walken?
Obviously not. He's the brother whose sister's gone missing.
I don't think that was an obvious question. I mean,
Shut up.
Just wanted to know if he's Christopher Walken.
Can we get to talk about Critters? We're like 7 minutes in here, and we haven't even talked about Critters yet, except for the people who were in it.
Oh, were we supposed to watch Critters? Okay.
Don't worry, I got your back. I've seen it so many times I can recite it verbatim.
This was my first time watching it.
That's unfortunate.
So, we open
in space.
Which is funny because the series ends in space.
Yes.
So, we open with the greatest title card, Prison Asteroid Sector 7 Maximum Security.
Yep.
As if that's supposed to mean something. And we see this giant prison planet. Now, right off the bat, it took me a long time to realize this was a planet, because when they started from like the camera started from quite a ways away, I was like, what are we looking at? Even when the title card came up, I was like, I don't believe you.
You expect them to kind of pan around and there be some sort of structure or something like that you can see that, oh, they've built a prison on this floating asteroid.
It just looks like a big turd.
Yep. Which is,
and then
you
we
can
get
describe
introduced.
that the later movies like that too, though.
It's foreshadowing.
Yep.
And then we get introduced to an alien that, to me, it looked like the guy from Return of the Jedi that's like, Jabba no Bargain. You know that guy?
Well, actually, yeah, I actually have that. The warden looks like a weird mashup of that guy, Yoda, and the elephant band leader at Jabba's palace.
Right.
So
it's so much so. Yeah, so much so that when he said get the bounty hunters, I thought like Boba Fett was going to show up.
Oh man, that would have made this movie fantastic.
Can you imagine? But instead, we get creatures with boogers for heads.
No.
What was that?
Well, I think that's their blank form because they're shapeshifters.
They're just like giant snot balls for heads.
And I'll say this: I watched it last week, and I watched it again last night, and I took my notes last night, which I think I should have took my notes last week when I watched it, because I was sober then. When I started watching it last night, they came on, they were bounty hunters, all I could think was, I'm the dog, the big bad dog.
I mean, that's a solid note. Did you write that down?
I did. Dog. It was Alien Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Alien Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Because I kind of now wish we had watched Critters 2, because one of the shapeshifters shapeshifts into like a centerfold.
Oh, God.
During that movie. So you would have had one bounty hunter as a dude and one bounty hunter who has big hair and giant boobs. It would have fit perfect.
No, but instead we get snotheads. And correct me if I'm okay. Now hold on.
Okay.
I don't remember this, but do they speak English to each
Well,
other?
they do. At first, though, the warden guy, they do that weird Clockwork Orange thing where they see all the footage of Earth so they can understand its culture and stuff like that. Because that's where one of them picks his Johnny Steele face.
Right. And at that point, I was like, I really hope he chooses Hitler.
I actually have that as a note. What if he had picked Hitler?
What's that?
What if he had picked Hitler? Because when
Right?
you're flipping through, there's all these other footage, and he stops on MTV, but there's all this other footage, and it's like, what if he'd picked Hitler or Stalin or Mussolini or something like that? And he just showed up in small town Kansas as, one of the greatest monsters in history. He would have
Right.
been welcomed with open arms.
Can you imagine? Yeah, can you imagine if like it was like Hitler and Stalin? And I like he's like the one of the okay, because we should explain, because they're watching this footage of
Yep.
like the history of Earth.
Yeah,
And to
Clockwork
like
Orange style, like it's just flashing into their brains.
right, and
Yeah.
they have to like basically pick something to look like, because they can't walk around with giant snot heads on
Right.
Earth and not draw attention to themselves, which I do want to criticize later, but we'll wait for that. So but before we even do that, that's later. We haven't even gotten to the scene to back at the farmland. We
Okay.
skipped the whole farmland scene
Right.
because we meet our family, our main family.
Yep.
But you know what? Let's go back to the ship for a second. Because this is all kind of together anyway. So first of all, I got to say that when they are transformed, they kind of remind me. I don't know if you've seen the classic cinematic masterpiece, Dude, Where's My Car? But they
course.
kind of remind me of the Nordic gay dudes.
Okay.
Yeah, let's continue on transfunctional, like those guys. But yeah, so one of them picks like Johnny Steele, who's just singing this song called "Power of the Night."
Yeah, he's like a Richard Marx Bon Jovi knockoff.
Okay, so I looked this up, and this is not a real person, right?
No, he's not.
Okay, that's what I
In
thought.
fact, the actor who plays Johnny Steele / the bounty hunter, he was the voice for the Beast in Beauty and the Beast, the Disney movie.
Okay.
Yep.
He's the voice for the Beast. It
Yes.
looks like he could play the Beast, honestly.
With hair like that, yes, it does not look like that anymore.
Oh, no.
Time has not been kind. At
I
least
thought
not
you were
to
gonna
his
say-
hairline, anyways. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say he died again, just like the guy from Thrashing.
That was Jerica's fault.
Put the whole thing down!
Absolutely.
That's why we don't have a guest this week. I'm just kidding. Love you, Jerica. So he transforms into Johnny Steele, and then the other one is like doesn't transform for some reason right away.
Oh no, he says, nothing likes me.
Nothing likes me, which at first I was like, is he just depressed? It's a weird thing to throw into this movie.
Isn't it?
Yeah, nothing likes me. He's the Eeyore of the two. In fact, I think I'm going to call him Eeyore from now on.
Which is funny because his name, I believe, is Oog.
Is Oog?
Oog, yeah.
I thought Oog was Johnny Steele.
Ugh.
Ugh. Wait. Hold the phone. Their names are Ugg and Oog.
Yes.
So we go back to the farmland where we meet the family, our main family.
Right?
By the way, I don't know if you felt like this, but they have the worst father in the history of cinema.
Go on.
He is mean. He is abusive. He is also the worst stereotype of like a redneck. Like,
I was gonna say, because, in the history of he's fairly aloof as far as dads go, which I think is kind of the joke. But I've seen Radio Flyer, so I know there are worse dads in cinema.
no, he's worse than the stepfather.
Yikes!
No, but like seriously,
Wait, the Terry O'Quinn one or the remake?
either one. he is like he is such a living, breathing stereotype, so much that when Billy Zane arrives, more on him later, but when Billy Zane arrives in his car, he looks at it and says, "Oh, you can't fit much hay in here."
Nope.
Like, that's the first thing he fucking says.
Well, I think the idea is that they're busted down on him because he's from New York.
You're right.
Yeah, because the daughter doesn't want to date the local guys because most of them are hog farmers. And he's like, "Oh, I know lots of good hog farmers in my day.
My daddy was a hog farmer. Nothing wrong with hog farming."
Yeah.
By the way, you're saying that you want her to date someone like her grandfather.
Just a fine, down home country boy who's, absolutely, just country and back to his roots, like that nice Gain boy down the way. He loves his mom so much.
That's right.
Talking about Ed Gein, in case anybody's wondering. He dug up his mother-in-law's skin.
You can see a dramatization of that in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Norman Bates Well is also based on Ed Gein.
The Psycho film, directed by Mr. Hitchcock.
It's much better than this film.
A tad classier than Critters.
So you're right. Okay, we meet the family. Dad's a redneck to the T.
Oh. Okay, and mason jars. He's wearing overalls. Yep. They've got like the jugs that they pour juice out of. I mean, he tries to stab the cat.
Well, get that cat off the table.
And then the second time it comes up, it looks like he's about to stab it with a knife.
It's good eating.
And then when the kid is going to be late for school, he says, "You missed that bus, I'm going to skin you and hang your bones out to dry."
Oh, that's just playful banter.
Okay. That's something you were saying Ed Gein. That's something Ed Gein says to his son before he goes to school.
Where do you think he got the idea?
Does he become Ed Gein later, or
we are just horrible people?
Is this Ed Gein later in life when he goes and starts his own family? After he committed all those murders,
caught, right?
Right. Yeah. If he hadn't got caught.
This movie is filmed in an alternate future.
That's right. There's more to this movie than meets the eye, guys.
So we got that. We got, Mom is Dee Wallace, and she's Helen, and she's typical mom, very typical mom.
She looks so much younger than him, though. I find.
Not unheard of.
What's that?
Not unheard of.
Yeah, but he looks like her father. Like, I actually, for a second, I thought that was her dad in the movie. But anyway, go on.
Well, I mean, you got her, and then it just seems like the entire family is kind of, and I'm not saying it's a terrible movie for it, but everybody in the movie seems to be cut out of a pretty neat cloth. Because the dad is a very typical redneck dad. Mom is kind of doting and, you watch your language, that sort of thing. The sister's a little boy crazy. And, the son's a precocious scamp who doesn't want to go to school and, like, running the thermometer under the hot water and everything.
I fucking hated the son. I was going to say that right off the bat.
Poor Bradley.
Oh, Brad the asshole.
Wow.
You know what? I'm calling him out right now. What's his real name again?
Scott Grimes. He's a fine individual.
Scott Grimes, you piece of shit.
Brendan's views do not reflect that of myself or the podcast.
I'm starting a feud with Scott Grimes over this movie. Or the screenwriter. Whoever was responsible for that character. I feel like Scott Grimes wrote his own dialogue.
Yeah, because he would have had that kind of stroke at that age.
At 10 years old, or however fuck old he's supposed to be. So, then we go to the police station. We meet the staff at that establishment.
Oh, and the secretary, Lynn Shay.
Sally.
Nigh unrecognizable to me.
That's who it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's from the Insidious.
And Ouija. What?
And Ouija, and she's been in Nightmare on Elm Street movies and stuff like that. But every time I've always seen her, she's always had her hair kind of out and like a like almost like a blonde or gray, depending on the era of the movie I'm watching is in. Here she had this like weird red tight do, and I didn't recognize her at first at all.
She also, her sexiest performance is probably There's Something About Mary.
She was the landlady in that, wasn't she?
Yeah, she showed her the fake boobs.
Yeah. Ugh.
So, so yeah, Lin Shaye, and then she says she's reading like tabloids or whatever.
Oh yeah, to Emmett Walsh. Man, the cast in this movie, again, an excellent cast of people playing these characters, either current for the time or future, but still the movie is, it's a B plus at best.
And Emmett Walsh, by the way, who after the scene literally sleeps through an hour of the movie.
Yes.
Like he is.
They wake him up to get back into the movie.
Not even like he sleepwalks through the movie. No, he is literally, his character is asleep for the next hour of the movie, and he is like the first or second person credited.
Yeah, well, and then I like him as I do like him as kind of the sheriff in this, because he's got a very Mayberry thing about him. And that's obviously what they're going for in this movie. So much so that Charlie is clearly Otis, the town drunk, and he's in the drunk tank so much that they let him have a lamp, and they don't even lock the door on him anymore.
Right, and he's just like in the jail cell talking about things talking through his teeth.
Yeah.
And Charlie, what can we say about Charlie?
He's a lovable drunk.
You know what? He used to be a prospect. I know that because they said it about 3 times.
He was the exact words. They ruined his pitching career, the signals that were coming through his teeth.
Yeah. So are we to believe that he was actually, not to fast forward too much, but are we to believe that he was actually hearing signals?
I don't know, because it's never a point that comes into saying, giving us an example of him actually hearing the signals and averting some sort of disaster.
Yeah.
He just keeps saying he keeps hearing them, and you don't know if it's coincidence or if he legitimately is, because if they even just gave some sort of example where he stopped like a critter's attack or met up with the bounty hunters because he heard their signals talking through his teeth, then you can go, oh, okay, he's not insane.
Okay. And so basically, Emmett Walsh is like, you're a drunk, blah, 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 blah. And then I don't know what it is, but when Charlie leaves the police station, Emmett Walsh has this great delivery where he's like, this town's a zoo. He says like the most like goofball delivery.
And considering it's easily one of the sleepiest of sleepy towns.
Right. Charlie's the only one who's like a little out there. Yeah. Everyone else is pretty much a stereotype.
Everyone's a stereotype. The town drunk is the only town drunk, so much so that the drunk tank is set up like a hotel room for him. The only 2 major social draws on a Saturday night are a bowling tournament and a church service.
A bowling tournament that apparently starts at 1:00 in the morning.
And the church service as well, because it's going on at the exact same time.
Oh my god, I never even put that together.
Yeah.
That was also super late. Maybe this movie takes place around Christmas and they're having midnight mass. Because I can see now, you may say, well, the family's not celebrating Christmas, but maybe this father is just such an asshole that he's like, listen, we're not celebrating Christmas, guys.
I don't want to be a jerk, but do Baptists have midnight mass? I thought that was just a Catholic thing.
Oh, see, I don't know anything about religion.
So I'm pretty sure that was a Baptist church.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Baptists, get at me. Get on the horn. Yeah. Let me know.
Leave it in the comments below.
all our Baptist listeners. So when they go back to the ship, but we already talked about that scene. By the way, I want to mention one thing. One other thing about that. The first transition when he changes into Johnny Steele.
Yep.
That is terrifying.
Oh, I know, with the melting skull and everything.
His skull, the green snot melts off his skull, and then the face comes on his like where snot used to be,
Yeah.
and he becomes Johnny Steele. And here's the thing, that takes him so long, but when the other guy does it, it's like instant.
Yeah, and there's no
Did you
face melting or anything.
nothing? His eyes just kind of light up, and then he's like, "Hey, I'm this guy now."
Yep.
So little inconsistency, guys. A little maybe polish that screenplay a bit.
Yeah.
I'm really taking these filmmakers to task on this episode.
You're on notice, Smart Egg Productions.
Is that what it is?
That's the name of the company.
I really hope we don't get an email from Scott Grimes.
I hope I do, because he'll be like, "You're great. Your friend's kind of a dick, though." I'll read it in my Steve Smith voice.
That was a spot on Scott Grimes impression, by the way.
I've been working on it.
That was like, you had the inflection and everything. Mm-hmm. So we go back to the farmhouse where big reveal. Charlie is actually a mechanic.
He's like the farm hand.
Yeah, and he is the farmhand for the family that we already met. And apparently he's like best friends with Brad, which I thought was weird.
I think that Brad actually gets Charlie into more trouble than Charlie gets Brad into trouble.
Well, Brad is a bundle of trouble.
Yeah, that's the polite way to say pyromaniac.
That's true, because he's like, wow, Charlie, look, that thing exploded. And Charlie's like, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like constantly making like homemade firecrackers, which are not M80s. They might as well just be sticks of dynamite.
Does Brad become Ted Kaczynski?
The Unibratter.
The Unibratter. Yes. I think it's safe to say that that's what happens.
Well, he doesn't show up in the third or fourth movie, so you know.
Ted Kaczynski, hit me up. Hit me up on Facebook.
Because that's what he's all about. Technology.
Mail me a letter. Let me know. Let me know what's up. So yeah, I think it's Brad. I think it's weird. I think it's Brad. I think it's weird that his father is cool with him hanging out with the crazy alcoholic Charlie.
Well, maybe he's known Charlie his whole life and knows like he's kind of, messed up, but he's still like safe as milk.
Yeah, I guess he is. I don't know.
You gotta take into account that it's a small town, so just about everybody knows everybody.
That's true.
Which is evident in the fact that whenever the Oog or Ugg changes into like Jeff or Charlie, everybody instantly recognizes him.
You mean the Booger Brigade?
Yeah.
The Snot Patrol?
Right.
Hairband and Jeff?
That's them.
So this is the introduction of probably the best character in the whole movie. So I'll let you take this one because this is a gem.
Billy Zane.
What does his car say?
What,
did you read that?
No, I didn't. I missed that.
It says, "I don't give a shit what your other car is." I don't get that.
Because everybody has those bumper stickers that say, "My other car is this, my other car is that."
Oh, see, I didn't get that at all because I didn't even know that was a thing.
No, well, I mean, it's not so much now. Well, it's kind of making a resurgence because of like a lot of like nerd culture is bringing like, my other car is the Millennium Falcon, my other car is a TARDIS, that sort of thing. But back in the 80s, when bumper stickers, not the decals that you put up in the window, but the actual like piece of sticker and paper you would put on your bumper, would say things like, my other car is a Ferrari, my other car is a BMW, or my other car is, not this piece of shit that I'm driving.
Do you think his personality really matched that, though? Because I thought he was fairly, like, a nice guy.
He was quite affable, actually, and I feel like he kind of got a bum rap from the dad, because he seemed nice and respectful. He's just a city boy. That's why he got it, though.
Well, he's not a hog farmer like grandfather.
No, and he can't put a whole lot of hay in the
his fancy car.
His fancy car.
Sure. But he doesn't give a shit what your other car is.
Right. Yeah, he definitely doesn't come off as a douchebag, despite what the bumper sticker would lead you to believe.
Guys, are you hearing this? Billy Zane is in this movie, and he does not play a villain or a douchebag.
No, actually, later when the boy crazy daughter takes him takes him out to the barn to make out, he's like, no, that's, your dad'll kill me, and and she's just like trying to like rip his clothes off, and he's like, no, we won't have any of that.
It's real progressive.
Yeah,
honestly, it's like a total like stereotypical role reversal.
Absolutely.
Because she is like the guy in that situation.
Oh, she's like super.
Where he says,
yeah,
aggressive.
Absolutely.
I mean, who wouldn't be with a young Billy Zane?
He did have that rat tail or ponytail or whatever it
was. I don't know. Was Billy Zane even like a known entity at this point?
No, I think this was one of his first movies.
He hadn't hit it big yet.
No, he wasn't a Titanic star at that time.
Like that movie with the boat.
Right, the Phantom.
I just want. This is the moment where I noticed that Brad has a poster of a boy band on his wall.
It's the Police.
Is it the Police? Okay, because it was a very boy bandish looking poster.
No, it was from Synchronicity, I think.
You were just trumping all my theories today.
Sorry.
On my birthday. Guys, it's not my birthday. It's Tuesday.
It was
We're recording
his
this
birthday
live.
when we recorded it.
This is live.
Kayfabe.
YouTube live.
Kayfabe.
2 people know what that is. Oh, okay. So, So a little incident happens here when Billy Zane arrives.
Yes.
And what was the thing that went down?
Well, Charlie ends up shooting Brad's sister in the ass with the slingshot.
Mm-hmm.
But this is Brad's save the cat moment, because he takes the heat for Charlie, because he knows that his dad is like had it up to here with Charlie and his shenanigans and being late and not coming to work. He doesn't want Charlie to lose his job, so he says that he was the one who shot his sister with the slingshot.
Right. I like how you just worked in a Blake Snyder and a wrestling reference into that. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I think you should get an award just for that. And I'm not going to explain Blake Snyder. You guys will just have to look it up. So he gets sent to his room with no supper, which used to be a punishment, guys. Remember that?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
That now it's looked at as a little
Child
more
abuse.
cruel. Yeah. Now it's child abuse. Back then, it was like being grounded.
Yep.
And not even that long ago, because I mean, I'm pretty sure I've had it done to me in my childhood.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'd say I did, but I grew up in this time.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's all right, Nathan. It's gonna be okay. Do you want to talk about it or
no? We're good.
Okay.
I keep my pain personal. Thank you.
So then you got April taking Billy Zane's...
Why didn't you love me, Dad? Sorry.
Oh, wow. You got it out of your system?
Nope, we're good. Yep. No, go ahead.
I just got to say the cat's performance is really good. Like, some wonderful ADR meowing from the cat.
There are times in this movie when the ADR is absolutely forgivable, and then there are times when it is just unforgivable.
It's pretty bad at times.
Yeah, because, like... After, the supper and everything like that, and they disperse, and Billy Zane and the sister April they go out to have their little tryst in the barn. Also, I do have it on good authority that old barns are romantic. I asked my wife when we were watching it, and she said yes. So there you go.
You assumed I was going to make a claim that it wasn't romantic.
Well, you know what? I was actually kind of dubious because she actually said it's romantic, and I'm like, it's an old barn. It's full of hay and
what I want to know is how long she had that boombox in there.
There are boomboxes everywhere in this movie.
She had it ready to go. Like, she was taking him to Bone City that night.
By the looks of things, the way she acted in that scene, she is DTF always.
Oh, always.
So
much so that at one point I thought Charlie was going to get with her.
Maybe that's why he's so nervous and scared around them all the time.
Nathan, I have a theory I need to bring up later, but we'll get to that later.
Okay. Anyhow, she goes off with Billy Zane, and Dad's getting ready with his Pinbusters bowling shirt with the Ghostbusters logo, but with a pin on the back.
What are they called? The Pinbusters? Yeah.
Pinbusters, yeah. But Brad still gets his supper.
Yeah, but it's not the dad's fault. You could thank your mother for this.
Yep, thank you, Mama, for setting you up a plate.
Yeah, now give me your slingshot. Now you're grounded. Okay, bye. I'm your dad.
Yeah, it was a really awkward Ward and Beaver kind of moment.
I don't find there's any chemistry like family chemistry between any of them, honestly.
Well, I found like Dee Wallace does it. I mean, she plays mom, so I mean, I found her fine. The relationship between the brother and sister seemed fairly normal, at least from a trope kind of standpoint, where you're such a pain, I hate you, April, that sort of stuff. That's very, you see that in just about every kind of movie where there's brothers and sisters or any sort of siblings. Mm-hmm. But I think they were going for an aloofness with the dad, but he just came off as not so much aloof, but absolutely oblivious.
An asshole?
Maybe, a little bit. But he still loves them, obviously. He takes a critter to the shoulder for them.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, spoiler alert.
Well, I mean, someone's going to get attacked. But pretty light, actually, for this movie, as we'll get into it. There's only, 2 people, legitimately get killed.
Okay. Well, I'll wait till that happens. But yeah, okay. So at this point, the spaceship containing the critters flies overhead. Brad sees it because he's trying to sneak out. Now, what I want to know... Okay, hold on a second. Brad is trying to sneak out of the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he had previously seen his sister and Billy Zane go into the farm. Is he trying to go over there to watch his sister bone?
It is Kansas.
Well, I mean, where else is he going? That's what I think is going on right there.
Yeah.
Because when they go into the farmhouse to bone...
I don't even really think about it, because there's a line there when the dad finds him out in the tree and tells him to get down. He does it really easily. And he says, oh, it looks like you've done that a few times before. Yeah, a few times. So if you posit your theory, he has snuck out to go watch his sister bone in that old barn a few times.
Well, here's another clue, Nathan. Is when they go into the farmhouse to bone, it cuts back to Brad, and he has the biggest shit-eating grin on his face. Like, oh my god, I can't wait to sneak out of there and watch it again.
Ugh.
I feel like she just takes random guys back to the farmhouse to bone while Brad watches.
Your review of this movie is getting super dark. I just want you to know that.
Guys, this is a PG-13 movie. And there is a reference to the son possibly watching his sister bone guys in a farm. Okay. I'm just saying the clues are there. I'm just saying the signs are there, and maybe Brad is going to turn out not so good.
Because yeah.
So I gotta say too here. When the spaceship comes overhead, you got Dad putting on his bowling shirt. Brad sees it too because he's on the roof trying to escape. The dad's reaction to a giant UFO is fairly blasé.
Well, he didn't see it. It was like an earthquake to him.
Really?
Well, he was inside.
Well, I thought he was looking out the window.
No, he was getting ready and stuff like that, and it was just if he did, it wouldn't have come across as looking like a spaceship because they were going so fast it shook the house.
See, I thought that was unclear because when the spaceship came over, I saw them both looking towards it, and I thought that they had both seen it.
That's a possibility, but they might not have thought it was a spaceship. They do go looking for it, obviously, because when he finds Brad in the tree and tells him to get down, they go off into the field because that's where they find the inside-out cow.
Right, because the critters
eat everything.
Go rah, 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 which is subtitled as we're hungry. Why are there subtitles?
I don't care. I love it. It was actually one of my favorite parts because they clearly have their own language.
But But like, I don't mind the other language thing, but the subtitles explain things that we really like don't need explained. Like without those subtitles, was I going to be like, oh, that cow probably just turned inside out on its own?
I'm just saying we have never been on the absolute not the same page more so in our lives than we are right now. I am
Nathan,
so
I am
happy they had
anti
what
subtitles, anti subtitles.
anti sub. But look, Brendan, just because you know the Kreitz language verbatim doesn't mean everybody does. So a subtitle here and there is perfectly fine.
Nathan, I take
Also,
great pride in the fact. Well, I don't think we need to bring anti-Semitism into this.
Sorry, my accent is atrocious. That's not what I meant to say.
I studied Kreitology at the University of New Brunswick for 4 years,
well,
and for
if it was offered there.
What's that?
Wouldn't surprise
It
me
is
if
offered there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, it's just a program I took great pride in completing. And for a movie like this to use that language, that beautiful language, I just wanted to be one of the few that would understand it, and so it could be like an extra layer for me. It might call it selfish if you want, but I mean, I just it's just something. It's just something I enjoyed.
Yeah. So then we cut to Deputy Jeff.
Deputy Jeff, who apparently has a crush on Lynn Shay.
Yep. Because he keeps asking Sally for donuts and hot coffee or something like that.
That is how you get the ladies.
Well, when you're a cop.
Well, that's just a rotten stereotype.
Rotten stereotype, eh?
Eh? Eh? The rotten stereotype. What's that all about? Huh? If you guys didn't get it, we're Canadian. We're from Canada. So
but yeah, Sally's a cold woman.
Oh
she
my
just
God.
flat out just turns him down.
She's not giving it up for him.
No, not at all.
No.
But then she gets real remorseful when he refuses to talk to her.
Typical Sally.
Yep.
So and then he gets in a near collision with what I would assume if I saw really quickly would be like a cat or like a squirrel or something. But what does he say when he gets out of the car? He says,
"Pooch, pooch, pooch." Pooch. And he's got like his billy club. Is he gonna beat the dog to death?
I was like, first of all, if it's smaller than a dog or a cat, it's probably a squirrel. So are you going to attack a squirrel if you didn't hit it with a car?
Well, that's just it. I don't understand. Like, if he didn't hit it, why would he get out and go look for it?
I have no idea. But when he said "here, pooch," I probably laughed for a minute. I had to pause the movie because I just lost it.
But
it's like as ridiculous to me as Ghostbusters. But that was intentional when Rick Moranis sees the giant. Yeah, nice doggy. Anybody got a milk bone? Like, but this was like in a more like serious manner. He actually thought it was a dog.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
But he gets out and are attacked by the Kreitz or the critters as
pulled underneath a car and not eaten, but just chewed up a bunch.
They throw a quill at him too,
right.
And I don't know what kind of scope or reach this movie had in the 80s. I mean, I know I saw it as a kid. It was in the Turtles movie, the first Ninja Turtles movie, because it's the movie Raphael goes to see. At the first of that movie. It's just because I think it was New Line Cinema's property, and they're the ones who helped make the Ninja Turtles movie. So he goes to I don't know what kind of scope it had as far as like its reach for the people who had seen it, but I have a feeling that this movie helped spurn on the urban legend that porcupines throw their quills when they do not.
God damn you, critters!
You want to laugh? When I watched this movie last week, I watched it with one of my friends, and he said, "You won't believe the amount of arguments I've had with my significant other about how porcupines don't throw their quills, and she totally thinks they do." And I was like, that would seem to me like in this day and age, that would require one, argument, and it would be like a 3-line argument. No, they don't. Yes, they do. Wikipedia. Boom, done.
Well, yeah, because porcupines, they just like, in order to hit you with their quills, they have to actually be right next to you, don't they?
They spine up like the way a cat would kind of puff its hair out and stuff like that. And if whatever's trying to attack it or kill it touches it, the quill has a barb on the end of it that sticks into the skin.
Yeah.
And that's it. They don't throw them. The only time they come off of a porcupine is if they're attacked and they get stuck onto the thing that's attacking them.
Right.
They don't throw their quills. So I'm putting that out there. Okay, gonna give my whole Neil deGrasse Tyson moment in here. Porcupines do not throw their quills. Boom. Done.
Guys, you just heard some serious...
He just dropped some
serious knowledge on you.
That's right. Boom.
Critters.
I do a mic drop, but my mic is exceedingly expensive.
Speaking of mic drop, I gotta say, there's a part right now at this point of the movie, or actually, I want to mention two things, and they are the most bonkers, crazy things in this movie that I don't know if they're acting choices or what, but okay, here we go. Are you ready for this?
I'm listening.
The first, so I'll do the microphone thing first. So when the father, so they obviously know there's something wrong because the critters cut the power in the house.
Yep.
So the father is using the phone to call the sheriff or whatever, or he's just using it to test it. He hits the dial tone a couple times and he's like, "Oh, it's dead." Now, at this point, he presses the receiver to his ears a couple times, and then, I don't know if you noticed this, he hits the end of the receiver like you would to test a microphone.
Caveman, bonk, bonk, bonk. Yep.
He bonks it with his palm a few times. I'm like, what are you doing? The other thing that I thought was insane was when Dee Wallace is in the kitchen, one of the critters pops up in the window for just a split second. She sees glowing red, like, demon eyes, right? Yep. The father and Brad come back in, and she tells them about it, and Brad says, "Well, maybe it's Chewy, like their cat." And she goes, "Yeah, probably."
Right, his eyes light up like the fires of hell.
She doesn't even stop. You're like, yeah, it's about the cat. Look, it looks like a demon in the dark. I have seen plenty of cats at night, and their eyes do not look like that.
Maybe he was talking about, like, the light hit it and it refracted or something, like you get laser eyes on a cat in a picture, but I don't think they would glow with the redness that those eyes were glowing with.
Dee Wallace shifts back and forth between logical badass and shrieking harpy every 2 minutes. And then so the best thing is that actually this is where we get the first scene of violence, is it not?
Yes, because he's looking for them in the basement.
Vicious scene of violence. Yeah. The critters look like, I've already said this on Facebook, but the critters look like gremlins on bath salts to me.
Yeah, that's about right. Well, actually, no. They wouldn't look... They would look like the gremlins if they were the size of the mogwai whilst on bath salts.
There you go.
There you go.
Guys, these are fucked up looking gremlins.
I thought it was funny that they had a box of Winstons in the basement. Like cigarettes.
Did they actually?
Yeah, one of the boxes the dad tips over or flips over while he's looking for one of the critters is like a full-on box that would carry like Winston cigarettes in it.
Wait, like a full, like, huge box, or
like
just like
a box that you would pack like stuff in if you were moving?
Okay, I thought you meant like he had like huge boxes of Winston cigarettes. I'm like, is that a subplot that they cut from the movie where like they're illegally selling cigarettes?
No, I'm not saying the box had Winstons in it, but I mean, he had a box that at one point were filled with Winston cigarettes.
Well, you know what they say, those cigarettes taste good like a cigarette should.
Okay.
Guys, I want to thank our sponsor, Winston Cigarettes.
Jeez.
We're not sponsored by Winston Cigarettes. And now we never will be.
I don't think they're allowed to.
I mean, if I could just have cigarette sponsors, I would probably do it.
Yeah.
Ooh, that tastes good.
Notes here. I have a note that just says hammer time. Oh, when because oh right, he does he gets attacked by the critter. He takes the after he gets shot with the quill, and then he takes a critter to the chest. He manages to wrestle it off, and he kills it with a hammer.
Right. And by the way, guys, these quills, they basically just make you like numb for a bit.
Yeah, but I think
That's
that's the
all.
idea. They're paralyzing agents, so you can't move while they eat you.
Right. So I mean, they're fairly harmless. Those quills.
Yeah, they're the teeth in the critters, not so much.
Here's the thing. I know that they're trying to push these things are vicious and they're violent and stuff, but like, couldn't you just kick one of them the
Yes,
fuck over?
and well, I mean,
Like,
they actually do have some fairly unceremonious deaths. Like, I mean, one gets killed by the hammer, another one just gets blown to smithereens with a shotgun.
right.
The one that eats the firecracker and just kind of tips over.
I love that there's no specific way to kill them. Like most things, most movies with like weird creatures are like, oh, you gotta burn them, oh, or you gotta do this. Nope, you can just like shoot them,
Yep,
hit them.
stab them, kill them, run them over.
They're just like people.
Yep. Number two, actually, the second Critters movie has some pretty interesting deaths for them as well. So I mean, if anybody who watched this is interested, you can like watch the sequel because number two is good. You can stop after number two. Feel free.
Guys, don't watch Critters in Space.
I haven't even watched it.
Oh,
I've
man.
only seen up to number three.
I am very thankful that you didn't make us watch Critters 3 or 4. Let me just say that.
Well, here's the thing. I like a movie where you have to ask yourself exactly what were they thinking when they made it, but still enjoy it while watching it.
Oh yeah, guys, watch this movie. But
Yeah.
it's pretty bad, but watch it.
Well, like for like another example is when the shapeshifter Oog, he gets his first form when they discover zombie Jeff and he morphs into Jeff, but he doesn't morph into a clear-skinned, regular-looking Jeff, the dead deputy. He morphs into zombie Jeff with the neck wound and everything.
Right. And see, when I messaged you while I was watching this movie, and I was super confused because he just kind of gets in the car and then he looks like dead Jeff, and I was like, wait a second, what? Like, I didn't catch on to that right away, but I guess he looks under the car, stares at dead Jeff, and becomes dead Jeff.
Yeah. And then, of course, because they want to play up the fact that these guys are aliens from an advanced, like a species that is advanced technologically, but they still can't drive a car or know how a shotgun works.
And why does he keep changing people? Like the other guy,
likes him, remember?
But well, no, okay, I can understand Jeff because Jeff is like a dead body. But once he changes to someone else, he doesn't, like, he changes to someone else again. Like that second person was fine. Like, he wasn't a dead body.
Yeah, he changes into the priest or
Right.
preacher from the.
I just don't understand why he keeps changing at that point.
Maybe he's just like one of those people who, constantly changing the color of their hair or buying a new car every couple of years. And he just can't keep it fresh. Gotta liven things up. Variety
Guys,
is the spice of life.
I'm feeling irreverent this month. Wait, that's not how I meant it.
That did not come out how I wanted it.
And usually it's the other way around. So and this is, here we go. We got a great reveal because what the hell is his name? Billy Green Bush is the guy that plays the dad. But the dad makes it out of the basement. They are patching him up.
Unit,
he's fine. He is a hurt unit.
Yeah.
What is that? What you said?
Yeah, he's a hurting unit. Like, he's like, and they kind of have to help him along so much so that April and the mom have to defend him while Brad goes inside to open the door.
Right.
Because that's where they blow away one of the critters.
But
after that,
the best reveal for that is that April and Billy Zane have been boning this whole time.
Yes. And then they get besieged by critters.
But they're not even boning. They're just like kissing with their clothes on.
No, and I gotta say, maybe it was Billy Zane's conservative sensibilities, because
Yeah,
it
probably.
took him at least an hour just to get to second base.
Right? Maybe he was worried. He's like, I've never done this before.
And she's super aggressive, trying to absolutely sexually assault him.
And I mean, April is not a bad looking girl.
Not in the least.
No. And so Billy Zane is like, well, you guys, I'm just going to say this: if we film a sex scene, I might have to bow out early. If you
But
get
that's
my
it. They're making out, and they've been going at it so long that they have to switch the tape.
Right. And let me just say this: they do not hear anything that has been going on in the house. Correct?
Right, because the boombox, and
Right.
also they're deafened by their lust.
Mm-hmm. But when she screams, everyone in the house hears it.
Yep.
Immediately. So, okay, so Billy Zane, yeah. You know what? You go ahead because I can't even take this. It hurts my heart.
Well, he reaches over to switch the tape, to flip the tape over in the boombox because they've been making out so long. So, and they record tapes, so they've been going at it conservatively for a half an hour, maybe 45 minutes, depending on if they're using a 90-minute or a 60-minute recording tape. He reaches over to shut up. I know a lot about making mixtapes. Okay. So he reaches over to flip the tape over, and one of the critters reaches up and bites his finger off.
Immediately, there's no struggle. It's just like,
Chomp, and then that's how you know their teeth are a real threat.
Right.
So he's looking at the severed, the stump that he's still got, and he's like, ah, and the critter jumps him and eats his chest.
And he does a comic head bump into the wall.
Yep. And just so you know, the chest area of the Billy Zane is the most succulent and meat filled. So just for future reference,
guys, if you ever want to eat Billy Zane, go for the chest.
The chest. I mean, you want a good brisket right up the front there. It's yep.
I know his bald head might attract you first, but ignore the temptations.
Gristle. It's really,
Ignore the temptations. Yep. And then we get I think this is my favorite critter death, actually.
With the firecracker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brad saves her and it eats a firecracker. It just kind of looks like it farts and then falls over and dies.
And that actually, it's funny because it's funny, but it also shows the discrepancy in the movie because they'll eat anything, obviously, and this critter eats a firecracker or like an M80 or whatever the heck his homemade firecrackers are, and it should explode into a million pieces. And he
my God.
Blows up a little bit, blows down, and falls over.
It's not Ted Kaczynski, it's Timothy McVeigh.
Anyhow, back to my inconsistency. D. Wallace explodes one with a shotgun.
Yes.
So, at first you would think that because the critter just kind of blows up a little bit, then deflates and then falls over, that their skin is kind of impervious to shrapnel or explosion, and then she blows one away into a million pieces with the shotgun.
Yeah, that made no sense.
Consistency.
It's all about consistency.
Yeah.
Guys, if you can take anything away from this podcast today, it's that consistency is key.
And continuity.
And also when the bounty hunters arrived to the church that I thought they said were looking for the Christ.
Ha ha.
And I said, what the fuck is this movie?
The only thing that would have made it better is if the priest would go, "He's here, my son."
Right? I thought they said we're looking for the Christ. And then did you notice the anal sex joke?
The Sodom and Gomorrah and the ladies who tittered at that joke.
Butt stuff. Are they laughing because anal sex is just inherently funny?
It isn't?
I mean, I'm not disagreeing.
Okay.
But literally, guys, this is a scene in this movie. The church, the priest or the reverend says, now we're going to talk about Sodom and Gomorrah. And these two women who are at least 50 years old are like... There's no reason for this part whatsoever. It doesn't tie into anything.
And this is like the and then the priest tells Zombie Jeff, bounty hunter Oog, the city's or the town's gonna pay for that damage, and then he turns himself, Oog, transforms into the minister, like right in front of everybody, so he looks like the minister. And I found it really odd that he looked better and more badass as the bounty hunter than he did as the minister.
He did. That was the best look for him.
Yeah, like that slicked back, kind of hard 1,000-yard stare thing. Yeah, no, he.
Also, yeah, and also, okay, going like I said, I was going to bring this up later. They at the beginning of the movie they established that the bounty hunters are they're taking human form so that they fit in, right? So that people are not like, oh my god, there goes those like snot-headed weird things.
Right? Yeah. So they're like, there's these two guys with giant green heads walking around downtown in Grover's Bend.
Right. So changing into someone in front of them, in front of a bunch of people, and blowing up a church is also low profile.
Yeah. The whole idea of them picking a form for subtlety is absolutely lost within the first 15 minutes of them showing up in town.
If we just look like mass murdering humans, we're fine.
And you gotta beg the choice, why would they let him choose a celebrity too?
Right.
If the whole idea is to keep a low profile, you don't want to pick somebody who has a high profile as who you're gonna look like.
It's like, can you imagine if he had like picked like Elton John? If Elton
I would watch that movie.
This movie, yeah. Oh my god, I would have watched the shit out of this movie. Oh, so the church scene, and then I think we go back to the farm at that point. And,
and this is where they're absolutely under siege.
He's kind of being pretty demeaning to Dee Wallace in this scene because he says, "Helen, they've cut our phone and they've cut our power. Do you understand what that means?" as if she's a child.
Again, country. They're supposed to be stereotypical hillbilly. It was like 88, 87, 86?
I think it was 86.
Can't remember. 80s. So, a great time to be alive as far as technological advances happening very rapidly. Still not the best time to be alive if you weren't a straight white male between the ages of 25 and 60.
Right.
So...
So and then one of my favorite transitions is I just laughed really hard. I don't know why. It wasn't even that funny. But he says to her, "Helen, it can't wait." And then the very next cut, you hear him say, "Wait up, Brad." I noticed that. I was like, whoa, hold the phone.
No, we can't wait.
We can't wait. Wait up, Brad.
Hold the phone.
Like immediately. Okay. So the critters are getting bigger, Nathan.
They are. And which plays
and they're swearing. They're cursing.
Yes, I love that. Again, that's why we needed the subtitles.
I will admit that was a great moment.
And did they get the accent right when they?
See, like the inflection was about 90% accurate.
Okay.
There are some slip-ups here and there, but I mean, Kreit is a very difficult language to speak.
Well, from what I understand, it's a dialect, and you have to know like the more of the slang or the street parlance as opposed to like speaking it in a more proper tone.
Well, in a lot of scenes, they're kind of speaking like a Shiak version of Kreit.
Right.
So it's kind of like half Kreit, half oobly googly. So I mean,
that was terrible.
I didn't make that up. That's the language.
Anyhow,
the oobly gooblies of planet Snarlax.
That was better.
Don't criticize my language. This is an attack on me.
Let's move over to the bowling alley scene, shall we? Or do you have any more notes on this previous scene?
No, just the critter saying "fuck" and
okay.
Them remarking
blown away
that
by the right. So he's clearly not. Their skin is clearly not impervious.
Right, and Dee Wallace saying they're getting bigger, but she's only seen one critter so far. So I just wrote down, "Girl, you've seen one of these so far."
You take weird notes.
I just think that's a weird thing. It's like seeing one squirrel and then seeing a bigger squirrel. Be like, oh my god, all the squirrels are getting bigger.
Oh no, not that note. Not the fact that that she noticed that, but the way you wrote, girl, you've seen one and you haven't seen any others.
I write all my notes like a sassy
lady.
secretary. It's like, honey, you need to back that up. I have that here somewhere. Okay, go ahead. Bowling alley.
Anyhow, we go over to the bowling alley.
Hairband and Jeff are there.
Well, the winter leagues are now forming. That was on the sign-outs. They left out the G.
Wait a second, what?
Well, they're advertising for their winter leagues that are now forming, but because of their country, the winter leagues are now forming.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
That's so aggressively folksy.
And the bowling alley is very 80s in that it was built in the late 60s and did not change at all. My parents, they were big bowlers in the 80s and 90s, and every bowling alley I went to was sliced straight out of the early 70s and never changed.
I mean, does bowling have to change?
No, but I feel that the surroundings do. There's some nice. I've been to some nice bowling alleys as of late that are actually quite nice and fairly modern and everything. This place here, and just like the bowling alleys I had to frequent as a child and teenager, they had the same type of patterns. They had the same type of equipment. It was all like this weird panel look to everything. The snack bars had those. They only like the cups. They didn't have like Pepsi or Coke on them. They just had weird like spiral or dot designs on them, and they only sold two kinds of chips: Munchos and Nacho Cheese Crunchets.
You have a vivid memory of bowling alleys.
I have a vivid memory. Period.
Yeah, so this is the bowling alley that Hairband and Jeff arrive in.
Yes.
And
well, it's not Jeff anymore, he's the preacher.
Sorry. Oh, right. So Hairband and Reverend.
Hairband and the Preacher. That's my
Hairband and the Preacher. That's not a bad
next
band
sitcom, yep. Hairband and the Preacher.
Hairband and the Preacher. Is that about a preacher like managing a hairband?
I think it writes itself.
I don't even think you need a synopsis for that. So they arrive.
So they show up, and Hairband palms a bowling ball.
Mm-hmm.
Palms it, like, just picks it up and launches it and destroys the pins. And the best quip
for no reason.
For no reason, and because I'm assuming he's mimicking the stuff that everybody else is doing, but he has to show that he's stronger and better at it.
Right, he's trying to fit in subtly, remember?
Yeah, with his long flowing duster with all the studs and his giant boner gun.
Well, I mean, there's also these guys that are giving them second looks are wearing sparkly orange shirts. And one of them says Honey Boy.
I didn't notice that.
I did on like the second viewing.
Anyways, he destroys the pins by launching the ball that he just palmed, and they quip with, "Wonder what team he's on."
Right, which is like the typical joke that people make in this kind of scene.
You see it in these kind of movies all the time. But then they
I'll have what she's having. Yeah,
exactly. Yep,
that's Critter's version of that joke.
So, they destroy some pins. Enough bowling. Let's go into the lounge.
Mm-hmm. Where Charlie is drinking.
They're coming. I hear them in my teeth.
And then this guy's like, "Hey, we get another drink," and he's basically like, "Hey, shut up, asshole!" Bartender's
the worst customer service.
Oh my god. He's like, when are we going to get another drink around here? Which admittedly is a bit of a rude thing to say. But he basically says, "Fuck off, asshole."
But I have a feeling that because it's such a small town that he can get away with that because he's known this guy his whole life.
That's true.
Yep. So, yep.
I'm just not used to these small town values, Nathan.
No, well, a big city boy like yourself would know this sort of thing.
I'm used to, big lights, bright lights, big city, you know, not not uh not grits and
Gravy,
I got
grits and
nothing. There
gravy,
you go. Grits and gravy,
right,
homespun values, and critters trying to eat my cat,
right.
Chewy.
Hmm.
We've been away from the farm for a while.
Yeah, well, we can't go back there just yet
We
because
can't,
Oog changes into Charlie.
which takes him again a lot less time
Yep.
than Hairband.
Oh, and Charlie is at one point during the whole fracas because the alien bounty hunters get into a fight with the two guys who were in the bar who were giving the bartender the business there. Charlie ducks away and takes a hit out of his flask. If he's got alcohol, why is he at the bar?
Oh my god. I didn't notice that either. Maybe maybe
Maybe
they're
it's a
just trying
social
to
thing.
tell us that he's like so aggressively he's such an aggressive alcoholic that like just the drinks in the bar won't do. He has to top them off with his own shit.
This really helps it shine up.
Maybe they're
Oh,
getting ready to close and he's just like taking some drinks. Maybe he's taking some drinks now because he's like, well, fuck, the bar is obviously going to close now.
yeah.
Got to bring
And
this with me
after,
just in case aliens blow the place up.
well, yeah, you never know when aliens are gonna blow the place up, and you need a hit. Because you gotta bring yourself
Maybe,
down. But
maybe he knew. Maybe he heard it in his teeth.
that if they had pointed that out, that he had knew they were coming there, and like had given us some sort of tangible, like just an internal monologue of Charlie's where you could hear the sounds kind of coming through his teeth. You don't have to think he's a lunatic drunkard.
Nathan, it's in the unrated cut.
I would love to see an unrated cut of this
The
movie.
director's cut with the
More
commentary by
gore
Billy Zane.
and Billy Zane.
Can you imagine? It's just Billy Zane on the commentary.
This
Well, I don't know what happened
Critters,
this
the
day
Billy
because I
Zane
wasn't
cut.
there. Everything after this, I wasn't around for. Yeah, I don't
But
know what happened there.
it's a killer tumbleweeds. After all this has happened. The critters are under sieging the farmhouse. A church has been wrecked. A bowling alley has now been visited upon by bounty hunters from outer space. We wake up the sheriff.
Man, and Emmett Walsh is awake.
Yep, they call him, wake him up.
They're like, "Hey, you're in this movie, remember?" And he's like, "Oh shit, I'll be right there." He goes to the He goes to the church first, does he not?
Yes.
And then he calls Sally, who is wearing rollers in her hair.
Yep.
Which I'm like, did she sleep there? Or was she woken up by everybody and then went to the police station?
Well, it would explain why the drunk tank has like a lamp and a really comfy bed in it.
Do you think Sally sleeps in the drunk tank every night?
Possible. It's possible.
With
Yeah.
with Charlie? I think there's something illicit going on.
I mean, that's why she doesn't want to get together with Jeff.
I can't be with you, Jeff. I'm with the town crazy.
He had heat. He was a prospect.
He's right. Do you know how good of a baseball player he was? He was a prospect.
So now
Yeah,
we can go back to the farmhouse where,
Thank God.
again, the critters are laying siege to them.
I thought you were saying they were laying seeds.
Siege.
Siege, like the Denzel Washington film.
Right. With Bruce Willis and somebody else.
Somebody else.
Don't know. Anyhow, a critter is crushed by a fan.
Mm-hmm.
So again, they're easy-ish to kill.
That kill was bizarre because I thought that's all it took.
Yeah.
Wow.
But again, it goes to it. It was one of the smaller ones. It wasn't the big one. But
This is also when Brad sets one on fire, right?
yeah, in his own house. It's like
Right,
we're gonna
and
run
by the way-
upstairs and lock ourselves in. Oh, what can I do? Set one of them on fire.
Yeah, like a moron. That critter doesn't even die from getting set on fire.
No, he jumps in the toilet.
Right. So he literally accomplished nothing.
Yeah, but
Guys, don't worry. I'm just gonna set this carpet on fire. We'll just stay in this locked room.
and the thing is, during this, they're cutting back and forth from the farmhouse to the crime scenes and everything like that, and they get this. It was a funny line, I felt, anyways. One of the ladies from church is describing a preacher and hairband, and says they was wearing them clothes like Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, that's what they wear.
Yeah.
I mean, I know my own city people. That's what we usually wear.
Oh, giant dusters that have like studs and stuff punched into them. Yep.
And vacuum cleaner machine gun or vacuum cleaner bazookas, I guess. So the Gremlins are gonna going crazy, and I think this is where
the critters.
Brad's like, what's that?
The critters.
What did I call them?
Gremlins.
Oh, did I actually say the Gremlins?
Gremlins. Yes.
Oh, Gremlins, critters.
Because they have one of the critters actually attacks an ET doll.
Yes, I was gonna say this is legitimately a great moment because he stares it down and then eventually bites it. Now, this made me think of something crazy. Sorry.
This one particular thing, eh?
I am stereotyped now as like the one with the insane theories about movies, but just hear me out. Okay. So if there is an ET doll in this house, right? That means that in this universe, ET exists as a movie, correct?
Yes.
So that means that in E.T., there is a girl. Dee Wallace is a person in this universe and looks exactly like the mom in the farmhouse.
Well, maybe she gets that all the time.
But like, I
always felt like Helen. You look like the woman who was in that movie. You know, where the young fella finds the the space lizard man.
Helen, you look an awful lot like E.T.'s mom.
I appreciate that, but she wasn't actually E.T.'s mother.
She gave birth to him, remember? Maybe she's like Dee Wallace undercover. Okay, I'm sorry. My theory.
That's gonna be the next. My cop drama on Fox, actually. Dee Wallace undercover.
Dee Wallace undercover. Can you get Dee Wallace for it?
I hope so. Kind of hinges otherwise. On it.
Yeah. I mean, you can't. That's not something where you could just grab like Kristen Bell and get her to play the role. I mean, I'd watch
Wallace.
It.
No, I'm not.
Well, you're playing Dee Wallace. So yeah, the ET moment. This is a kind of a funny montage where the critters are just kind of like wreaking havoc.
Yeah, I actually have montage. That's my one note for this point of the movie.
Yeah, there's nothing really stands out. It's just kind of a thing that happens. And then Brad is like running away to get help or something. I don't know. He's useless.
Well, no, because then he gets into the cop car with Trans Oog as Charlie and Hairband.
Yeah, Hairband.
And they have this weird exchange of where they're he's trying to tell them where to go and they don't get it and he doesn't get it. It's like almost at the end I wanted him to be like third base.
It was very weird because like you don't really know like who knows what, where, what, and why, and blah. If I was a robot,
the crates,
I would blow
the
up.
critters. You mean the crit? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I've never heard anybody call them critters at this point. So when he says critters, I was like, what? Haven't you been calling them krites this whole time?
I love how Bradley calls them critters.
Right, but I mean,
without missing a beat, Johnny Steele, bounty hunter, is like he makes the connection right away. The critters must be the krites because it kind of sounds the same.
Yeah, because critters doesn't mean anything else except for these.
Not to these guys.
What a convenience that they happen to be driving by at that point. Because I'll tell you what, these bounty hunters cannot find shit in a sewer. They are the
Couldn't find their ass with
worst
both
bounty
hands.
hunters. They
But
are all.
so they do manage to figure it out. At this point, there's a giant critter which is now attacking them as well as the little ones.
Do we ever see the giant critter?
Not fully.
I thought that was such a cop out.
Budget.
I guess, but like, couldn't they just make a bigger version of the critter and move it around with ropes? Like,
or put somebody in a suit, because I'm pretty sure that's what they did.
Why not?
But so they have that, and then when Brad shows up with the bounty hunters to help fight the critters, he's like, I bought a rock star and the town drunk.
It's Johnny Steele and Charlie, guys, and they're like, okay.
So they start laying waste to the family's home.
Let's not forget that Dee Wallace knows who Johnny Steele is because she was randomly watching a video of him performing on TV for no reason earlier in the movie.
I have a feeling there's some subs. I think she loves the MTV because she was watching that with some interest. I think that the Dee Wallace had a thing for Johnny Steele that was. Do
you think that was cut from the final?
A little penthouse, you know what I mean?
If there had been a Dee Wallace and Johnny Steele sex scene, I want it back in the movie.
I have a feeling we just created a whole subgenre of slash fiction.
Guys, we want to see your Dee Wallace and Johnny Steele slash. We want to read it. I will read it on the next episode if I find one. If I find slash involving these two characters, I will read it.
So they kill it. They kill a toilet because it has a critter in it.
Oh yeah, they're just like you said. They're just laying waste. They're blowing this place to smithereens.
But did you notice that their guns are like? I have a note. They're boner guns.
Yeah, they pop out and shoot.
They pop out and they shoot, and then they go back down to regular size after they're all done.
Right. They're like it's almost like they're hunting for squirrels with a bazooka.
Yep.
There's
no hyperbole there because the critters that they're killing are about the size of big squirrels, and they are using bazookas.
Yeah, no, that is actually like pretty close to what it is. Like, you would think in an advanced civilization that they would have something to kill the krites with that would be like, like manageable. Nope, big bazookas.
Yep.
That extend and go back in like a penis. Not go back in. Penises don't do that.
So now well, it depends what kind of day you're having.
I guess so.
They take the fight outside. Harv swallowed his chewing tobacco. I have a note there about that. I just thought that was funny. That
right.
Yeah. But anyways, they take the fight to them outside. And now they're gonna chase they're gonna go after the critters, and Harv's there with his car, and they get into Jeff's car, and they just kind of stare each other down like they're gonna have a drag race. And then they don't. They just get out and they just cram all into the sheriff's car. And now Oog knows how to drive. Because
weren't they driving earlier though?
No, that's it. It's a point of comedy earlier that he really didn't know how to drive. Like he was just kind of fumbling around. Because when they first find Jeff, they get in the car and Johnny Steele blasts off a shotgun because he doesn't know how to get it out of the holster that's in the car. And then Oog, who's driving, at that point he's Zombie Jeff, throws it in reverse and drives all through town in reverse. Crashes into the church. They have the exchange. He turns into the priest. They go out. They get back in the car. He turns and looks back like he's going to drive in reverse again, and then whoa, zaniness, he's driving forward. So he gets the idea, the mechanics of driving, but he doesn't know how to like necessarily do it properly or well. And then he gets into Harv's car, and just like everyone gets in, click, click, boom, boom, boom. He's gone. He's driving. He's fine.
Well, maybe he eventually just learned. You know what? I got nothing.
Okay.
It's a total misstep.
Yeah.
I have no idea why he just decides to know how to drive at that point.
But then they meet up with Charlie, and they ask, like, the real Charlie, not the, bounty hunter Charlie. And they asked how they got there, and he's like, I was following my teeth.
Following, oh yeah, that's right.
So
See?
maybe that's the moment that you kind of understand that he really is hearing these things.
He was following his teeth.
Yeah.
It all makes sense.
Maybe.
Nathan?
Yeah.
It all makes sense.
Okay.
Charlie is our hero.
Yeah.
Charlie is the most unnecessary character in this movie.
And he gets... I have a neck dart moment. I was well into it by this movie, by the end, this part of the movie. So someone gets a critter dart in the neck, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember who it is. I think it's Charlie, but I'm not positive because I was kind of drunk. And
like a critter, like a quill?
Yeah. They get shot in the neck.
It's Dee Wallace. Dee Wallace gets.
Oh, okay. Well, anyhow, she gets hit. But the thing that took her husband down killed Jeff, so they couldn't move. It's essentially a bad hangover for her. Like, she almost like shakes it off immediately.
Yeah. No, it barely affects her. It's just inconsistent. Consistency is key.
Yep, and continuity.
And continuity.
And the whole reason why they're chasing after the critters, not only just to capture them and prevent them from escaping, they've also kidnapped April. One of the big giant critter kidnapped April and took him to the ship.
And while they're dragging her away, one of the critters is sitting on her vagina. I know. Sorry.
They'll eat everything.
What?
They eat everything.
Thank goodness that scene was cut. Because I don't know if I could have handled that.
So,
just an oral sex scene with the critter and April.
So they get her they get her out of the ship and everything like that. And Brad wants to kill him with his apparently C4 level powered home firecrackers, but he doesn't light the wick. So Charlie's like, here, let's make a Molotov cocktail out of my liquor bottle, which they do. They throw it into the ship, and as the critters are flying away, they blow up the house, and they realize that, oh, there's a bomb in the ship now, and the firecracker has enough power to it to obliterate the ship.
That's right, the entire thing.
Yep. It was this is the kind of movie that a young Michael Bay saw and was like, I could do it bigger.
I just want to say too, this is the part where I mentioned earlier there was something weird about Charlie and April. When Charlie bumps into Brad and says, "Oh, follow my teeth," blah blah blah, that bullshit.
Yeah.
He sees April unconscious and being dragged away by critters. He quickly wipes his forehead to look presentable. Like, I'm not like, he doesn't wipe it because he's like, oh, I'm sweating. Like, he does it and then he kind of like adjusts his collar and stuff. Like,
well, you're figuring to save the day. You want to look presentable.
What do you think is gonna happen, Charlie? And like, I feel like there was this is a legitimate thing. I feel like there actually was a subplot where Charlie kind of had like a hidden thing for April. How old is April supposed to be?
High school.
18?
Maybe 17, 18. Like, she's still in that boy crazy kind of thing, which was for as far as these movies go, could mean she was anywhere from 16 to 18. Because she would have to be in high school.
That makes it a lot creepier than if she's 16. But I got the feeling that Charlie had a thing for her. And then he's like, what are they going to do to her? And Brad says, they're going to kill her. And he goes, they're going to kill her? No, what do you think they're going to fucking do, me, moron?
They put her in a space zoo. just like Flight of
Right.
the Navigator.
So that so then,
Love that
like you said,
movie.
they blow up, but our bounty hunters come back into the picture for a second
Yep.
because they give Brad a very special gift.
Yeah, it's like, hey, yeah, call me sometime.
Yeah, here's my bolt buckle.
Which has backwards magic. It's the only way I can describe it.
Right, because
Well, because we said the Krites blew up the farmhouse.
mm-hmm.
Brad presses the button on the belt buckle that Johnny Steele gave him, and everything starts going in reverse, and their house starts building itself.
And the cat's in the mailbox. But that's not the end.
No.
Because what do we see
Critter
underneath the house?
Critter eggs.
Critter eggs for the sequel.
Which is actually
Credits.
a pretty good sequel.
Now, I read that Charlie is in all of them, which I don't understand.
Well, there's this weird thing because it's so odd because he goes off with them.
With the bounty hunters?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the sequel, if I'm remembering correctly, because that's how he ends up going over into the third and the fourth movie. Because in the third and the fourth movie, he's a bounty hunter.
Okay.
But there's at this one point, and I'm not even sure how it all worked out. It was like he goes off with them, and then in the second movie, he's there with them. And I'm gonna little spoiler alert for the second one if anybody's gonna go see it.
Cover your ears.
There's a point where you think Charlie gets killed in the second movie, and Oog, who's again still is there's because the bounty hunters are still a tag team, decides he's gonna take on the visage of Charlie. Like as a tribute, because Charlie makes the sacrifice for them, so he's gonna be Charlie.
Okay.
And then, surprise, at the end of the second movie, Charlie didn't die. He comes out of a smoldering pile of rubble or whatever, and he's fine. When you get to the third movie, Charlie is this weird mix of original Charlie and serious bounty hunter.
I thought you were going to say in the third movie he plays Leonardo DiCaprio.
And if you are a glutton for punishment, do see the third movie. But
don't do it, guys.
I stopped at that's how bad the third one was. I stopped after number 3.
You never saw Critters in Space?
Never saw Critters in Space. I saw the poster for it when I was a kid. Knew that it was a thing. But it never happened. It never came to any of the video stores around me as a kid, so I never got to see it. And I just have lost absolutely all interest. Maybe someday I'll watch it for some sort of morbid curiosity. But from everything I've told, from everything I know, if you stop at number 2, you're fine. If you go on to number 3, you'll get to see a young Leonardo DiCaprio in one of his first movies, which is kind of interesting at the very least. But anything after that, it's the fourth one is not worth the trip at all.
And you know what I got to say though about this series, with all these horror movies that go into space in their as they get later into the series, at least this one has its roots in space.
Yes, because they're aliens, so it makes some sense, yeah.
So it's not like Leprechaun in space.
Or Jason.
I'm surprised Freddy's never been in space. That's
no, don't put that into the ether, Brendan.
Guys,
do not
Freddy
put that
in
in
space.
the collective unconscious, okay?
Make it happen.
No.
Make it happen.
No.
Can we please get Jeepers Creepers in space?
I think you have to have a minimum of at least 4 movies to get into space, and there's only 2 Jeepers Creepers movies.
Come on, guys, Jeepers Creepers, make it happen. I guess I just got one question for you about all this, though.
Is it about any sort of like hints or clues about the next episode?
You know what? You are a saint because you just saved us. I was gonna wrap it up, and you reminded me of something we forgot to do.
Right.
So congrats.
Thank you. That's
Nathan is
like 2 prizes this podcast.
2 prizes.
Now, one for
yes.
references, one for saving the day.
So we're gonna do things a little different this time. I'm not actually gonna reveal the next movie.
We're gonna keep it all mysterious and whatnot for you there.
Gonna keep it mysterious for a little bit. Probably gonna reveal it. We'll say Friday morning at 11. How's that?
Okay.
Actually, no shit. I'm not even gonna be in Canada Friday. We'll say Thursday night at some point. Thursday night at some
You're
point.
gonna have access to the internet, aren't you?
Oh
Or do you
wait,
wanna
we
do,
both
like, a
have access
vocal-
to this, don't
Yeah.
we?
Up
I
next
thought
on What Were They Thinking? This is the movie that we're doing.
You know what? I forgot that we weren't one person. So, Nathan, if you would be so bold as to let everyone know Friday.
Yeah, I'll put a post on the website, or the website, the Facebook group, and everything.
Facebook on that thing the kids are using.
Yeah, the Twitter book face.
But I will say this about the next movie.
Mhm.
First of all, you will be able to watch it on Netflix, so that's going to
a
be
plus.
easy. And I will say that sometimes a great director has his missteps. And that's all I'm going to say for now. I will drop another clue in a couple days. And Nathan already knows what it is.
I won't say anything. I won't say anything. I'm yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do have a question for you.
And what's that, Brendan?
Regarding critters.
Yeah.
What were they thinking